Welcome everyone to our Packers News Camp Chat alongside Pete Dougherty. I am Olivia Reiner. The Packers took a pause from football yesterday as the team met to discuss the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, police brutality, and systemic racism. We'll discuss that meeting and the Packers' return to practice today in just a moment. However, before we begin, I want to remind you, you can be a part of our conversation. If you're over on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube, all three platforms today, I will be able to see all of your questions. Pete and I can get to some of those toward the end of our discussion today. Yesterday, head coach Matt LaFleur, as I mentioned toward the beginning of our show just a minute ago, decided to cancel practice, giving players, coaches, and even front office members space to discuss systemic racism in America. This came in the wake of the Milwaukee Bucks deciding to strike and sit out of their playoff game against the Orlando Magic. How did the Packers players react to having an opportunity to have this discussion when we spoke to players like Billy Turner, Adrian Amos, and Christian Kirksey today, Pete?
Yeah, I think it was extremely important for them, and I'm sure these are hard discussions and emotional, and I'm sure you come out of those things exhausted. So I think they didn't practice for good reason. It probably would have felt wrong to practice even if they hadn't had the meetings. And I think it's just a lot of guys have been unburdening themselves, and I'm sure it's for them. It's crucial.
Guard/tackle Billy Turner spoke to the media today. He said that Executive Vice President Russ Ball, General Manager Brian Gutekunst, and CEO/President Mark Murphy were all present at that meeting. Turner said it was important to have them there, front office members, just generally speaking, so they can help take the players' messages, their desires, and turn them into some sort of action, potentially even financial action. How can the owners and front office members make a stand for their players beyond performative allyship?
I can't remember if it was Billy Turner or Adrian Amos who talked about the Rolodexes that guys like Mark Murphy have, and which means the contacts they have, the political suasion they might be able to put out there with their connections to governors, to mayors, senators, House of Representatives. So I think they would play a big role in this, and I think the players need them to play a big role in this and are asking them to. And because it's, in the end, NFL owners, the Packers don't have an owner, but Mark Murphy certainly has a lot of cachet in this state as being the president of the Packers. And the rest of the owners are all billionaires. And that, by definition, makes you a player in the political realm. You have power. And so those people can use that power to help affect change that the players are looking for, most notably beginning with changing policies on how policing is conducted in this country.
We've seen both the Packers as an organization and CEO/President Mark Murphy donate money to organizations across Wisconsin that work in this arena of bringing social justice to different communities here in the state of Wisconsin. We will see if they will continue with those sorts of actions or if they'll even take steps politically as well. Safety Adrian Amos said that the team hasn't discussed collectively if they are going to do some sort of protest just yet. However, week one is just a couple weeks away, the beginning of the regular season. How likely is it that we see some form of protest from the team this upcoming season?
Yeah, he made clear that these things are still to be determined. Things are so fluid now. You would think that they'll be, in some way, shape, or form, that the players will do something to make some kind of statement. I would assume, but none of us know. We won't know until game day in a couple weeks.
Yep, we're rapidly approaching that day, so we will see as we continue along, as the Packers continue to have these conversations within their team, online. This is not the end of these meetings and these conversations. That being said, the Packers returned to the practice field today to resume football. There's a lot going on still, but they're still focused on the goal of preparing for the start of the 2020 season as well. In injury news, Packers right tackle Rick Wagner returned to practice today. He had not been in practice since last Thursday, so he missed a substantial amount of time with the team. That being said, he did not participate today in team drills. He's still acclimating and getting himself back into the swing of playing football after missing substantial time. What is the status of the right tackle position right now, seeing as both Wagner and Billy Turner have taken reps there?
Yeah, I think, a lot will depend on how bad the injury is with Wagner and how he's functioning now while playing. Presumably, he might be still a little bit hurt. How it affects his play. Lane Taylor has looked pretty solid at right guard. So the injury could almost by default make Turner the right tackle and Taylor the right guard. Now there's still basically another full week left. I think next Thursday will be their last day of practice, and then they'll make cuts. Cuts will be due by Saturday afternoon. So things could change between now and then, and they could conceivably I just can't imagine they won't have the decision made by practice the week of the game because they're going to want the starter to take all the reps. I guess if you had to guess right now, you got to think it'll be Taylor at right guard and Turner at right tackle, unless Wagner is feeling great and can make a really hard push over the next basically 6 days.
Head coach Matt LaFleur has said everyone is going to get all of the reps everywhere. They are not going to make a final decision until that week of week 1, the first game of the regular season. We shall see exactly who ends up being the starter at both right guard and right tackle as we approach the start of the regular season. Additionally, it's been an interesting off-season and preseason for the group of rookies who didn't have a rookie camp, nor will they have any sort of preseason games before the start of the regular season. And included in that group is rookie quarterback Jordan Love. For a rookie quarterback without all of this important integral experience to acclimating himself to the NFL, how has Love performed through 10 days of training camp?
A lot of times he looks like a rookie. He hasn't gotten a ton of snaps. He's playing behind, Boyle's an experienced backup, and Rodgers is getting a large majority of the work to get ready for the season. He definitely has shown some of the arm talent that you can see the Packers would have liked. He's got a really nice, natural quarterback throwing motion, and he's showing a lot of touch on some throws on the run even. Remember early in camp him scrambling to his right and dumping a throw, I think, to one of the running backs. And just a hair underthrown, and it was broken up, but it was still a good-looking play. And he's had his, plenty of shaky decisions too, or throwing it into traffic. I think back to when Rodgers, his first training camp, I don't remember at all thinking during that camp, man, this guy was definitely worth the first-round pick. You just can't. It's hard to tell, and Love is not getting enough work to, make any really strong judgments on him. Other than you can see some of the talents there to work with, including his mobility as well. But when they drafted him, the one consensus was amongst people I talked to in the league, everybody had different opinions on how good he would become. But to a person, just a handful of scouts and coaches thought this is a guy who definitely is going to need time. Even the guys who thought he was going to be really good thought he needed a couple of years at least before he'd be ready to play. And it sure looks like the Packers are fully planning on, giving him a lot of time.
Luckily for Jordan Love, as you said, Pete, he does have time behind not only quarterback Aaron Rodgers, Also, backup quarterback Tim Boyle is there to slide in at backup if Aaron Rodgers happens to be unable to play for whatever reason during this upcoming season. Additionally, as you mentioned, Pete, roster cutdown is rapidly approaching. Tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, the Packers will have to make a final decision about their initial 53-man roster, as well as the 16-man practice squad. What are the Packers going to use to help them inform their decisions without any preseason games?
They've been for a couple of practices that we've seen. They've had that final period where it's all the young guys. They've done that for several practices. I think they might even have done them for some of them where they would leave the practice field and practice would be over for us as observers. But in the Hudson Center, they might have conducted another period with them too. And a couple of those periods have been live where there's been live tackling. I think, those are as much about evaluation as they are about getting players ready. I think that's for the coaches and scouts to see these guys in a little more of a game type setting. So we'll probably see some more of that over the next 5 practices over the next 6 days, I think it'll be. And that's the way they'll have to make them. You're saying those numbers there, and you realize with 16 practice squad spots, that's 69 spots. And chances are those practice squad spots are going to go to guys who are here. So it could end up being that while they cut a bunch of guys, they're really actually only cutting as few as 11. Maybe they'll pick up a guy or two from other teams. You never know. But, 69 players, they got 80 in camp right now. So we might only see 11 fewer. It might be, 69 guys who have been practicing all this camp will be on this team in one way or another for that opener.
General Manager Brian Gutekunst said that he suspects teams will want to keep their own in terms of going forward, not only with the 53, but also especially with the 16-man practice squad. So we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition, if that is in fact what teams are doing, or are they going to be poking around on the waiver wire and trying to steal some players from other teams. Apparently, that's what the media is for, to poke around and to read up on what media and other towns are saying about their younger bottom of the roster players. Pete,
I bet you never knew that you were an NFL scout, did you? I didn't know I was.
I certainly didn't. Nope. I am not on the payroll of an NFL team, so it kind of blows my mind. Anyway, let's move on to some questions from our lovely viewers. Let's start with Matthew. Matthew asks, when will fans be allowed to enter Lambeau Field? It's a great question, and the answer is we don't know yet. We know that the Packers are not allowing fans into the stadium for the first 2 games of the regular season, and they haven't made a call on the rest of the games at home yet. I suspect as we approach the start of the season and we start making our way through, we will have a better sense of are we at a position right now in the pandemic to have fans enter stadiums yet? We don't know yet, or at least in Green Bay. So that, I believe, Pete, do you have anything else to add?
No, but that's exactly right.
Good. Awesome. We've got another question here from Frank. Frank wants to know, are Preston and Zadarius Smith healthy? Both, I believe it was Zadarius Smith the other week who missed a couple of practices for an undisclosed injury. He returned and he has been an active participant in full capacity in practice. Pete nor I were at practice today because the Packers moved practice inside of the Don Hudson Center due to the rain. Pete, have you heard anything else about Zadarius Smith that would warrant an update otherwise?
I haven't. Neither you nor I are M2 clearanced, so we could not be at practice. No, I haven't. He looked the last practice they had. He looked okay. I'm trying to remember if he took part in team drills or not. I can't remember off the top of my head now if he did or not. The first day back, he did not. I remember that. So was the last practice we were at? Was that the one at Lambeau?
That was the last
Then
one.
he did not take part in team drills that day because I remember after they did all their work leading up to team drills, he ran some sprints in the end zone, and that was it for him for the day. But the guy who's played as long as he has, they're just sure they're just being cautious and taking it slow with him because they need him. He's their most important defensive player. And, he looked like he was running fine at practice, and that was Thursday or Friday? Thursday, I think. So I wouldn't think there's much to worry about. I don't think Preston Smith has missed any time in camp.
No, he's been healthy all camp. So hopefully for the Packers, they can stay that way because, Pete, as you mentioned, they hardly ever leave the field during the regular season. Let's move on to Jody. Jody asks, when will the Packers make an impact move for a receiver? They are banking on all the receivers to step up. When they don't step up, what happens then? They did not make much addition to the Packers receiving room this offseason, aside from free agent signing Devin Funchess. However, Funchess decided to opt out of the 2020 regular season due to coronavirus concerns. So that leaves the wide receivers room mostly the same as it was last season, aside from a couple additions here and there, including former Canadian Football League player Reggie Begelton. Pete, what is going to be the state of improvement, especially as it relates to the wide receivers room going into the 2020 season?
Yeah, to make an impact move for a receiver, it's just not saying it won't. It can't happen, or that it definitely won't happen. But it would take a big trade to make it happen, and those are still relatively rare. You never know who might pop loose and what a player or team might be willing to deal sometime over the next week or right before the start of the season, and then again at the trade deadline in late October. But that seems like the odds of it happening are fairly low, at least before the start of the season. And I think they're counting on improvement from those young guys and the running game and the picking up Dylan. So either Dylan or Jones will be on the field at almost all times. They'll have a back who they think is a real big threat out there, and they're counting on that too. And LaFleur's wide zone play action scheme to help the passing game.
Yeah, whoever can make a play on this offense as a receiver, whether you're a true wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, if you can make an impact in the passing game, the Packers will be reliant on you to step up and be a contributor. Who those contributors will be, we will see as the season gets underway. We are so close. We are getting so close to the start of the 2020 regular season. Week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings is just a couple of weeks away. We will continue to cover everything leading up to the season itself, to infinity and beyond over on PackersNews.com. So make sure you're checking us out over there. Also, make sure you're following us on social media for lots of updates as we continue along through training camp. Hopefully, if the weather is nice, I'm hoping it is, the Packers will be back outside to continue their training camp tomorrow. Pete and I presumably will be there, and we will have another live stream for you all tomorrow. So if we didn't get to your question today, come back tomorrow and we will do our best to answer it then. For Pete, I'm Olivia. We'll see you next time.